Trillion. Once you know, you can never go back to merely believing. Mark Kimmel. What if you knew you were not alone? What if you found out the universe was both friendly and organized? What if you discovered you did make a difference? What if you were asked to lead away? Ryan Drake, a successful entrepreneur, learns that the answers to these questions are as real as anything he's ever experienced in business. His story begins in a remote corner of the Navajo Reserva, tion, and through seeming coincidences, he discovers that his view of this world, of the cosmos, was narrow, to say the least. Ryan's ultimate test takes place when those who oppose this larger truth discover him and his off-planet friends. Itbecomesa race to see if Ryan and his friends can convince the right people before they are silenced. Yet this inspirational adventure is not just a journey through one's imagination. It helps readers discover a new paradigm on how to view the universe, and the reason they are here. Trillion is based on first-hand experiences, ideas from philosophy and psychology, to medicine, science, and cosmology have been incorporated into this important work. Look for the sequel to Trillion. Bridget T.S. herbalist, nutritional consultant, raw chef 303, the 4967 www.bridgetimers.com. Email bridget@indra.com. Classes, consultations, formulations. 1919 D. 19th Street, Boulder, at Florida 80302. Trillion. Mark Kimmel. Paradigm Books, Boulder, Colorado. Once you know, you can never go back to merely believing. Trillion. Printed in the United States of America. This novel is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, institutions, agencies, and incidents either are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. www.paradigmbooks.biz. Library of Congress. Cataloging and publication data. Kimmel, Mark. Trillion. Mark Kimmel. First edition. PCM ISBN number 09720151. 081. Metaphysics. Fiction 2. Extraterrestrials. Fiction 3. Conspiracy. Fiction 4. Cosmology. Fiction I. Title first printing June 2002. Paradigm Books. P.O. Box 18237 Boulder, CO 80308 1237. Copyright sign 2002 by Mark Kimmel. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means, including information storage and retrieval systems, without permission in writing from the publisher, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages in a review. For Heidi, who encourages me to be myself, for Amber, who insists on daily hikes, and for me, Celestialis. This planet is an imperative in the friendly, organized universe. It is time for its people to grow up and take their rightful place in the cosmos. SOAME, Tundrone, OEEPNSP Sarias Wusasi Kodat, Iatlesha Sopin CFVCRS. Scene 7, Ong. Most people simply cope with what life hands them, and do not act as if there is more to the universe than their existence on this sphere. Peter Jones. One immediate. Ryan Drake shouted to the wind, "You could have killed us both. He pounded the steering wheel and fought the temptation to pursue the driver of the van. Jerk. After swerving to avoid the oncoming vehicle, his dusty Jeep rested in sagebrush beside the narrow dirt road. The emblem on the van's side marked it as a United States government vehicle. In his rearview mirror, Ryan watched it retreat in a cloud of dust. After 100 yards, it turned and headed for the main highway. Ryan set his jaw and tasted grit. He pulled his white Jeep Grand Cherokee back onto the road and proceeded toward the sign, Harmony Center. He was not about to allow some minor incident to interfere with his visit. He was much more interested in the strange facility in this remote corner of the Navajo Reservation. Mark Kimmel Harmony Center appeared to consist of two traditional-looking Navajo hogans and a huge glass and aluminum geodesic dome, a glistening white blister on the desert's ruddy skin. The dome had to be over 150 feet at its base. The larger hogan was a clay-red hemisphere about 30 feet across with a door facing the parking area. The other hogan was the same height and color but much smaller in diameter. It reminded him of an inverted ice cream cone. I thought a chimney at its peak, but no visible door. Ryan had wondered about these unusual structures as he had driven past them on his way to Benstig. A mile or two further down the road, they seemed somehow out of place. Ben had told him they sat atop an extensive underground facility. Except for the wind-blown dust that covered everything in this part of Arizona, their grounds were immaculate. None of the clutter typical of Navajo settlements. A small beat-up trailer was parked near the dome. To the east, Fortress Mesa towered 2,000 feet above. Its cap arc, a sheer 300 feet of weathered sandstone, was silhouetted against a cloudless sky. It dwarfed the two terracotta 10. Most of the other vehicles in the parking area were pickups with Arizona license plates. His Jeep's plates were the green and white of Colorado. Ryan pulled in next to a light green sedan at the far end of the row. The lettering on the side of this vehicle, beneath the United States government seal, read Immigration and Naturalization Service. While he was expected, out in the desert it was polite to give people little notice before banging on their door. He stretched his arms and flexed his hands. After working for 10 days in the hard ground at Bensot's archaeological excavation, he was a different person. Back home, he would already have rung the doorbell a second time. Beehives and the sparkling dome. He studied the imposing facade and wondered if a climbing route existed and what he might find on the mesa's summit. To Ryan Drake's right, the sun reflected off a silver water tank and the 10-foot satellite dish. Further right, photovoltaic arrays baked in the sun. Harmony was 2 miles from the nearest paved road, 20 miles from the nearest town, Kayenta. There was little telephone or electrical service on the reservation, none here. These high-tech utilities seemed out of place in the undeveloped landscape. Through dark lenses, he surveyed his worn jeans and hiking boots. His cleanest shirt covered a freshly showered body. His softened hands showed the results of digging for artifacts in the dry ground of the high desert. Scrapes and blisters had replaced his neat manicure. The outside temperature was probably in the mid-70s. Thank God he was here in October. This place could be an inferno in July. Ryan tilted his head left and scratched his salt and pepper stubble. It was testimony to the fact that he enjoyed getting grubby. part of his relaxation process. Only 10 days old, it appeared to have grown for 3 weeks. His beard had appeared early in his teen years, dark and full. His senior year of college he had sported a luxuriant full growth. He would remove it when he returned for work. A successful CEO could get away with a lot, but not being unshaven. He glanced at the Evo set strapped to his wrist. 12:05 p.m. 05 for 10 feet. The electronic watch altimeter was a prized possession that he had kept functioning for over 10 years. He pushed a button on its side. The 14th of October. He was about to get out of his Jeep when the door of the largest Hogan banged open and 2 people emerged. A dark 11 trillion. Mark Kimmel, where are they? There are no others, but you have seen all. Ryan was tempted to go to Sarah's aid, but hesitated. He did not know the lithe woman that well and had never seen the man before. The man grabbed her arm. I know you're lying. With no apparent action on Sarah's part, the swarthy man stopped in mid-sentence. His hand fell to his side. He turned and walked to the light green sedan, did not look around, and paid no attention to Ryan. As it zipped from the parking lot, the sedan spewed gravel against the rear of Ryan's Jeep. Since the terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, the enced had shifted its priorities toward defending the country's borders, ensuring that no new terrorists entered. What did an enced agent want here in the middle of the Navajo Reservation, hundreds of miles from the Mexican border? Ryan stepped out of his Jeep, grabbed his hat as the breeze lifted it from his head, and walked towards Sarah. Bright sun highlighted the blonde hair cascading onto her slim shoulders. She reminded him of a gold-crowned princess from a fairy tale. At their 2 previous meetings, she had hidden this splendor under a western hat. He clasped her cool outstretched hand. Are you all right? 12-plexioned man and a slim blonde woman who towered over him. In his black outfit, the man reminded him of a cabrero. She was more like a marathon runner, thin but healthy, and she was young, at least 10 years younger than himself. Ryan could barely hear Sarah Smith's words as she asked, "What else can I? You're gonna be so sorry, you bitch." The man shouted and slammed on his black western hat. He asked, sorry, you see, so unlike dark-haired Navajo women, yet Sarah Smith spoke as if she had learned English here on the reservation. He wanted to inquire more, but decided he would learn about it when she was ready. As they strolled toward the larger Hogan, Sarah's stride matched his. She moved like a cougar drifting across an open space. Her large mirrored lenses reflected the landscape. Ryan had first met her last Friday when she wandered into their camp. Out for morning hike, she explained. She sipped coffee with them and told Ryan about Harmony Center. 1.5 miles that way, she pointed northwest. You pass it and way to excavation. The exchange had been friendly, unaffected. When they went to work, the slender woman climbed down into the trench to look at the layer that the team was working. Ryan explained pre-Columbian culture, the significance of Ben Sotzi's archaeological dig, how they had unearthed a stratum that Ben believed predated the Anasazi. The attractive woman's tactful manner and genuine curiosity impressed him. In his experience, most beautiful women were aloof, self-involved. Sarah had shown up again on Monday in an ankle-length flowered dress that reminded Ryan of an old John Wayne movie. The garment did not hang quite right on her slim frame. As before, She kept her dark glasses and hat on during her entire visit. From a large cardboard box, she had supplied fried chicken, bean salad, tortillas, and cold drinks. Tasty, but the caraway seeds on the chicken and in the bean salad were a bit much. As they ate, she had asked Ryan about his work. He explained about environmental monitoring equipment and small company organizations. She seemed to grasp his comments about business, but appeared dismayed at this discourse on electronics. She asked 13 trillion. Mark Kimmel held the door to the larger Hogan and Ryan stepped inside. He removed his dark glasses and placed them in his shirt pocket. As his eyes adjusted to the dim interior, he was surprised to see that the Hogan was unfurnished. There was only a spotless floor of southwestern tile. The interior side was stucco but not decorated. 2 small windows provided light. They walked 10 feet toward the back and down green carpeted steps. Each stair, wide enough for 3 people, was lit from the side. The long staircase descended to a landing dominated by massive oak doors. T come to Harmony a year ago. She wore a western shirt with pearl snaps, a silver belt buckle, no turquoise. Her clothes, clean and pressed, showed no signs of wear, but her boots were dusty, like everything else in this desert. He was about to inquire where she had lived before coming to Harmony, but he stumbled on the bottom stair and caught himself. Damn, he got nervous around beautiful women, especially Nordic blondes. He noted that she wore no wedding ring. She ignored his embarrassment and continued, "Our facility below ground." To avoid hot summer, Ryan hurried to open the tall, heavy door. As he held it for her, he glimpsed a spacious room with a high ceiling and polished tile. At its center was a long table with a dozen Southwest 14 hem If was happy and gave him a stack of papers. She said they described Harmony's vision. He glanced at the strange words, but did not probe further. He was interested in her, not printed material. She had a gentle way about her that he had seldom encountered. Before she departed, she invited him to lunch, to see facility and meet rest of my people. He had watched as she walked to her pickup and drove down the dirt road to Harmony Center. That was 2 days ago. Chairs, heavy wood and leather. At one end, bright orange napkins, plates, silverware and glasses were arranged for a meal. The smell of cooking greeted him. He removed his dusty hat and smoothed disher. In contrast to the dessert above, the room was almost cold. The spacious dining area with its high ceiling resembled that of an elegant hotel. Green landscapes and winter scenes decorated the walls. The overall effect of the recessed lighting was subdued. He noted 2 men at a low table in the far left corner. As they rose, Sarah motioned toward the white-haired one. That is Dr. Victor Adamson, founder of Harmony Center. He worked with Navajos to construct buildings. A Barrowman in his mid-60s strode toward them. Erect posture, broad shoulders, like a soldier in review but without the stiffness. He wore blue jeans and a plaid shirt. The other man followed behind. "Hello, Ryan." Dr. Adamson greeted him like an old friend. His full head of white hair, receding from a high forehead, accented his blue eyes. Dr. Adamson did not offer the customary handshake, but put a husky arm around Ryan's shoulder. "Welcome." The word resonated as if echoing from a canyon. Cheeks furrowed at the ends of his broad smile. neat rows of white teeth. His friendliness did not disturb Ryan. He had a distinct feeling he had met the white-haired man before. "This is Peter Jones." Sarah smiled and indicated the second man who had joined the group. Peter was 6 inches shorter than Ryan, had narrow shoulders, and his western outfit hung from his frame as if it were a size too large. Except for bushy black eyebrows that capped squinting eyes, his head displayed no trace of hair. He looked older than Sarah, about 50, about Ryan's age. In his left hand, he held a maroon book. 15 trillion. "Mark Kimmel, do you have a family?" Peter Jones asked. "They've 2 grown children," Ryan replied. "And you are divorced?" Dr. Adamson said in a forthright and deliberate tone. His words were not hurried as Peter's had been. Ryan glanced at the white-haired man. "Why, yes. How did you know?" His instinct told him that this man knew a lot about him, a lot more than he was letting on. "Where had he met him?" 16. Peter mumbled, hello, and bobbed his head when Ryan grasped his hand. His thin smile and rigid demeanor reminded Ryan of a college professor. Something about Peter's stiffness made Ryan think that the bald man struggled to merely stand. His eyes had a cloudy look about them. "Understand you're staying with Ben Southsea. I know him through his cousin, Cody," Dr. Adamson said. "Several members of that family have been most helpful." His words were like those of a Midwestern native, but each had a deep resonance. It required 5 years of discussion just to convince the Navajos that our facility would not disturb its neighbors. His chuckle reverberated. "They leased this piece of land to us for 49 years. There are no neighbors," Peter Jones said. "This is a bit off the beaten path," Ryan said. "Guess that's why you like it out here. Tell us about yourself." Peter rattled off the words as if were happy to finish with them. His face contorted as he spoke, as if it was expelling the words from a blowhole. "All right," Ryan said. "I live near Boulder, in Colorado. I run a company there. We manufacture instrumentation that measures air and water pollutants. We also operate a system that collects data from locations around the world, and we supply the results to government agencies and others." Dr. Adamson smiled and said, "Please, before you talk more, sit down to some food." His rumble commanded attention and they moved toward a table. Sarah took the seat at the end of the table and motioned Ryan to the place on her right. Peter sat down directly across from him. "They've something tout you must attend," Dr. Adamson said to Ryan. "Enjoy your lunch." Ryan glanced at Sarah. When he looked back, Dr. Adamson had disappeared, leaving the 3 of them alone in the room. Ryan had not heard any retreating footsteps or the closing of the door. In a few moments, Navajos came through a side door with heaping plates of salad, mixed greens with tomato and cucumber slices. They passed around corn tortillas, broiled chicken, 2 kinds of salad dressing, sliced melon and orange quarters. Pitchers of iced tea and water were already on the table. Ryan reached for the dish of salsa and spooned a little onto his plate. As a student at Arizona State University, one of the first things he had learned to enjoy was the food of the Southwest. When Sarah picked up her fork, Ryan turned to her and politely inquired, "Where did you live before coming here?" She froze, glanced at Ryan, and turned to Peter, as if were an actor given his cue. Peter blurted out, Your world is in danger." He looked at Ryan as if he expected a response. Ryan leaned back and gauged the stuttering man. "I guess I can agree with that," he said at length. "This world can be a dangerous place. There are some back alleys I won't go in at night. Your world is sting. Oh, now I get it. You're referring to the environment. The environment ison. There are others, such as men from this country scheme to subjugate this planet. The 7 trillion. Mark Kimmel much asked about this country. Then Ryan thought again. All Peter had tried to do was express a few different ideas. Wasn't that why he'd come to the desert? He realized that he had not really listened to what Peter had said. Normally he was able to appreciate the other party's point of view. Usually he relished playing it back to them and forcing them to see both sides. Somehow Peter was different. After the exchange, the conversation wandered pleasantly. He told Sarah how he'd scaled the Eiger at 19, and about hiking in Nepal and New Zealand. Although Sarah admitted to some athletic success in her 18, Peter Jones's words came at Ryan like the firing of a machine gun. The bald man's right hand pressed his jaw as if urging his mouth to cooperate with his brain. "I doubt that. The United States has never been known as an aggressor," Ryan said. "This country is the greatest democracy in the world. Hey, we found something to agree about. America is a great country." Ryan took a bite off the chicken and grimaced. Caraway again. He spotted the small black seeds. What was caraway doing in Southwest chicken? The flavor clashed with the spicy salsa he had spooned onto it. Most people simply cope with what life hands them, and do not act as if there is more to the universe. Peter paused to catch his breath. Calmer than their existence on this sphere. It was apparent that he was reciting words he had memorized. Ryan started to say something but returned to his plate instead. This stuttering invalid did not understand how the real world worked. But how could he? Bottled up on a remote Indian reservation, Peter talked like a revolutionary from some third world country. Was that why the Inns was interested in harmony? Youth. She emphasized that she was just learning about the dessert. When she was not eating, Sarah played with the delicate metal lion. 3 concentric circles honed from gold and blue stone, on a thin gold chain. Ryan was acutely aware of her physical presence. Peter said nothing more, although he seemed to listen with great interest. The bald man traced notes on a small pad that he kept positioned on top of his book. His eating was slow and awkward. As they munched on the melon and oranges, Sarah asked, "Have you heard of woman they found yesterday?" One of Ben's crew spotted her, stumbling alongside the highway. He took her to the clinic in Kayenta. "Is there any news?" "She died this morning," Sarah said. Misty grey eyes held his attention, an adult version of a big-eyed doll. "They say it was from exposure, and from a beating. How terrible. Wandering in this desert, hurt, all alone." She was not Navajo. With her right hand, Sarah brushed strands of hair behind her ear. "The Immigration and Naturalization Service thinks she was from Mexico and that she was in the country illegally. That man, who left as you arrived, is Raul Viejo. He is with the Inns. He interviewed me again and again." "What about the guy in the van?" Ryan had not forgotten how the larger vehicle had raced down the center of the narrow road, its driver oblivious to his white Jeep. "He is Luis Litchfield from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. What do they want with you?" "They believe we were harboring the woman from Mexico," Sarah spoke with a mildness that reminded him of Mrs. Martin, who had taught him 4th grade. In the world of business, one did not encounter many gentle ladies.